Hey YouTube, how we doing today? Yep, here we go again. My wife's gonna kill me. Another generator. To be fair, I did have to get rid of an old one. So let me give you some details here. I got the new Champion model 100-485 EFI generator. It's 11.5 kW, 9200 running watts. I'm going to tell you about this generator, what I had before, why I switched to this one, and give you my thoughts on it. And we'll do a quick run test as well. First of all, apologize if there's any wind noise. We do have a beautiful sunny day here, but it is a little windy, so we'll try to keep the wind noise down the best we can with the windscreen. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Give this a like. Doesn't cost you anything. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm not a professional videographer. We do this in one take. Nitty gritty. We'll give you what you need to know to make an informed decision if you choose to get this one, or you're just doing your research like I always do. Before this, I did have a Duramax. It was the 10,000 EH, I believe, XP 10,000 EH, and that was a dual fuel, which was fine. I use that primarily with propane. The problem I was having with that is even with a 30-pound tank, that would ice up on me. I just didn't trust leaving gas in it. I didn't want to have fuel issues. I know I could use stable and things, and really the main thing though was we've got a couple different chest freezers along with the normal house fridge and freezer, and then when the well would kick on, inevitably all those things would be running, the well would kick on, and occasionally we would trip the breaker on that generator. So I needed to upgrade something a little bit more, and this thing has at least 1500 watts more of starting power, which so far has been more than enough to keep everything that I have running. So let's talk about the generator, what it is, why I chose it. First of all, if you've seen my other videos, I'm a big fan of Champion. I've just had good luck with them. I like their customer service. It seems like they listen to customers based on the other videos that I watch, so I'm happy to hear that. This unit being EFI, you have less chance for fuel gum up, I think. A little bit easier starting. Typically with a carburetor, if you don't stabilize your gas, you get into some gumming issues. The jets can get clogged up easily. You tend to see less issues as long as you take care of your fuel. Speaking of fuel, as long as we're on it, I always use and recommend the 91 octane non-oxygenated. And if you're going to be storing it like you typically would in one of these generators, make sure you use stable, or if it's short-term seafoam, just some type of stabilizer is always good in there. Let's do a quick walk around of the unit here, just real quick, just to kind of show you what we got going on here, and then I'll come back. We'll talk about everything, talk about what you get with it, how you set it up, and what my thoughts are. This was probably the easiest unit I've had to set up thus far. It comes out of the box, and all you got to do is put your wheels on. That's it. Everything else is ready to go. This was super easy. It even comes with oil. So when you get your these wheels, they just pop right on. There's a little pin on the other side. This is a heavy unit though, just over 200 pounds, so make sure you have a helper with you to help lift this up. When you go to fill your oil, it does come with 10W30. So unscrew your oil fill cap here, use the supplied funnel right there, fill it up with oil, double check with the dipstick here. Remember on these, you don't screw it all the way in, you just place the dipstick in so it's flush, pull it out, and your oil level should be about perfect. Drain plug right here, if you can see that. There is ample room to put a drip pan under here when it comes time to change your oil, which I really like that. Speaking of oil changes, break-in time is 5 hours at first. During that first 5 hours of break-in, make sure you vary the load. That's typical with any machine, any engine. Try to keep it at or under 50%. Vary the load a bit, and what that means is, cycle it. If you've got a saw, make sure you're using that to cycle the RPMs. If a refrigerator or freezer is running, that's great to help cycle these. What you want to do is just give the engine a chance to break in, not at full power. Varying the loads, it helps seat the rings and whatnot in the engine. So that's just good to do. After that 5 hours, go ahead and drain the oil out, and then you can replace it with either a conventional oil, or what I'm going to do, because I'm in Minnesota and it is cold in the winter, I'm going to replace it with a full synthetic 5W30. I'm a big fan of AMSOIL, but you could use anything that you want, but that'll give me the full operating temperature, and I don't even have to think about it then. So that's what I'll be doing. In fact, I'm already at my 5 hours, so I'll be actually changing the oil on this a little bit later today. On the front end of this, it does come with a battery, of course. It's a 12-volt battery, 15 amp hour, and that's a good size battery for starting these. If you've seen my other videos too, you note that I always put these, like I just call them like a trickle charger plug. I know they have a name. Somebody in the comments throw it out there because it's going to drive me nuts now that I can't think of the official name of what these are called. But here's how you hook up the battery. It's right here. It's waiting for you. What I really like about this is during the off season, pull the plug here apart. I don't want to do it one-handed. Champion even sends you with a trickle charger. How about that? I don't even have to buy a battery tender for this. It comes with it. And this will put out 14 volts at 2 amps. That is more than enough to keep the battery topped off here during the off season or in storage. So if and when the inevitable storm comes, simply unplug that guy, plug your battery back into the starter here, into the engine, and you're off to the races. So it's that simple. All right, moving on. Talking about the front of the machine here. So on the 120 volt side here in the US, we have actual GFCI outlets here. So you actually have a circuit breaker in here. The ground fault protection is right here, and then there's also an actual 20 amp breaker up here. So you have two of these. These can each run independently of each other, so you've got 20 amps and 20 amps at 120 volts. Over here you've got a twist lock. Now this twist lock can go either 120 or 240. I have some other generators where you actually have to flip a button up here to decide between 120 and 240. I think that almost confuses more people. Instead, either have an electrician, or if you just buy a store-bought cable, it's either going to tap into one or two of the hot legs, and then you're going to know, or actually the generator itself will just deliver the appropriate amount of power. So I really like that. That's an L1430 plug. It's a very popular twist lock style plug. This is probably what everybody is going to be using for the most part, is this NEMA 50R plug in here. This can also do 120 or 240, but this is where you're going to get most of your power from. If you're using this for home backup, that's probably where you're going to be at. So at 240 volts, you're at about, I think, 38 amps peak power, and then at 120 volts you're just shy of 80 amps that this unit can supply. So you have a 38 amp breaker here, and that would be of course at 240 volts. So that you've got all kinds of protection here between the main breaker and then the individual trip resets as well. This is a neutral bonded generator. I'm not going to get into too much about neutral bonded and floating bonded. Just make sure you read your manual. If you need to add supplemental grounding or whatever, make sure you do that. Speaking of, if you're going to use this for home backup, please don't go to YouTube University and wire 2 male plugs in, plug one male plug here, the other male plug into your standard house outlet, and think that you're safe. It's just, you could kill yourself, you could burn your house down, you could kill a lineman if and when the power comes back on. You got to have somebody who knows what they're doing install that for you. So please, if you don't know what you're doing, with all due respect, just let a professional handle it. The way I have mine set up is I have a generator disconnect and an interlock kit, so that way when I plug this in to my outside connection with the disconnect, that interlock on my main panel makes it so the power can never come back on from the main line while this is running, and vice versa, and that way you know you're safe. So you have the IntelliGauge over here. It's got a digital power meter as well. This will tell you your frequency in hertz, the total run time, and there's something else that I can't think of right now. But there's a few things that the IntelliGauge will give you. You have your on-off and start rocker switch. So all the way down, like it is now, is the off mode. If I flip it in the middle, that's to turn it on and get the fuel injection started, and then to press it all the way up, then you're starting. This unit does also have a CO shield, as they call it. It's basically a carbon monoxide sense, and so if it were to be detecting carbon monoxide, it will actually shut the unit down to protect you. Every year in the news you hear about somebody in a mobile home or in an ice fishing house. Those of you in the south probably don't know what that is, but you know, somebody ends up dying because of carbon monoxide poisoning. This is just a little extra to help keep you safe. But please, folks, keep this away from anything. Keep the exhaust away from it. Make sure you got several feet, if not 10 or 15 feet between you and the structure. It's much safer that way. Speaking of, so on the top, it talks a little about the CO shield. Reminds you to use 10W30, gives you quick starting instructions. The fuel tank is here. If I have one gripe about this unit, and I don't understand why. A couple of my other units have just the standard fuel gauge, like a sight glass here with the fuel level indicator. And I don't know why this doesn't have it. I don't know if it was an oversight or what, but if I have a gripe, honestly, that's the only one. This will have 11.5 hours of runtime on a full tank of gas. That's impressive. That's obviously plenty to last overnight. So we look at the motor side of the generator. It does have the Champion branded 459cc motor. Huge thing here, pull start. You gotta have a backup recoil start. I would never buy, especially a standby generator, without this. Inevitably, life happens. You forget to charge the battery. Maybe the battery just dies or it's old. You gotta have a way to start this. So I really like this. You have your air filter in here. Quick, easy snaps. You can disconnect that and clean out your air filter. Super easy to get to. On the head side of the motor here, this is going to get hot, so be careful where you're touching, and especially on the exhaust here. Spark plug access is right here, and then your air fuel mixture and everything comes in here. You have your spark plug, I'm sorry, oh my goodness, your spark arrestor here. This is going to help protect to allow sparks to come out. You don't want that. Still though, even though this is the exhaust side, so this is the noisy side of the generator, try not to have that facing towards you know, your dry pile of tinder or anything, just in case a spark were to escape the arrestor. On this side of the unit, you've got the head of the generator here, the business end, and then you also have this really nice carry handle. So this is great. You can wheel this thing around, get wherever you need to. Remember, this is a heavy unit, so it's really nice to have that. All Champion units, which I like, they always put their telephone number on there just in case you have any questions. So that's that. Let's go ahead and show you how we start this guy up. Now, keep in mind, if you have ever used a generator of this size, these things are loud. They're not quiet. This is not a campground generator. This is something that's going to power the entire construction site or power your home in an emergency backup situation, so keep that in mind. But to start it, take that rocker switch and now see if you can listen. I'll try to shut up here for a second. I'll turn this to the on position. You can probably hear the EFI kick on. So EFI just finished, and we'll press and hold it up to start. Okay, so that was the decibel meter that I just had there. Keep in mind now, I'm, what, 5 feet from a very large garage door. So there is sound reflection off of that. That wasn't quite a fair dB example. I think when you saw me step back there, just for a second, we saw 78 decibels. That's right in line with Champion's specs. So I feel very confident knowing that Champion gave accurate numbers with the specs there. You probably heard me click on the chop saw. That's at 15 amps. This thing doesn't skip a beat. That's obviously no problem at all for this big of a unit. So we did have a power outage just a little under a week ago, and I ran this thing, so I got my 5 hours in already. Totally didn't need to run it, but we didn't have power, and I thought, what a perfect time to test this out. Obviously it worked like a champ, no issues. Like I said, we'll be doing my first oil change on it today. If you have one of these, or you're thinking about getting one of these, or you have one, let us know in the comments. What are some tips and tricks that you've got? Did I miss anything? You know, this is something we can totally all learn together here. I'll try and keep an eye in the comment section as well. So if you have a question, I can try to answer it for you. The community is also super helpful at answering these questions. So once again, give me a like, hit subscribe. I hope to have some more power equipment videos. I've got some tractor implements coming. So if these reviews are helpful and you like watching some kind of original content, let me know. Certainly appreciate it. Everybody stay safe. Hope you have a good one, and we'll catch you on the next video.